Boom, da, boom, chicka, booka, boom. Boom, da, boom, chicka, booka, boom. Boom, da, boom, chicka, booka, boom. Boom, da, booka, boom. Hi, everyone. This is Terrell here of Terrell Game Vlogs. How you guys doing? I'm glad to see you. Hope you're doing okay. Enjoying your weekend, going into your new week. Hoping to God that you can get to the holidays and get those days off because you are fucking tired of work. But until then, I would urge you to stick around, keep watching, and enjoy this movie review of a Star Wars film that is coming from the perspective of someone who doesn't fucking give a shit about Star Wars. Which some of you might think, oh, that makes your opinion super jaded and biased and shit because you already hate the franchise. No, I don't hate it. I'm just insanely indifferent to it. So let's get into it. So, I guess to give you a quick history of my relationship with Star Wars, it's borderline non-existent. The first Star Wars film I've ever watched, let alone watched to completion, is the Rogue One. And I thought Rogue One was a waste of fucking time. It was a pretty throwaway movie that served no real purpose. It's literally like an untold filler episode. The way I look at Rogue One is like, oh, here's the OVA of what happened in between this section and this section. Nothing else really fucking matters except for like these last few minutes, and there's no other extra lore. Grant, I don't follow Star Wars lore, so that part might be false. But as far as the film goes, it was pretty throwaway. Some of you say, oh, you haven't watched The Force Awakens? Nah, not really. Although I am somewhat tempted to watch it now. Considering I've watched The Last Jedi, which is a direct sequel to The Force Awakens. And some of you might be asking, why even go watch the film if you had no interest in Star Wars? Well, my friend likes Star Wars. He said, I'm going to the movie at 10 o'clock this morning. You want to come? I said, fuck it, why not? And he gave me a general rundown of how The Force Awakens is. So I said, all right, that's fine. That's fine. I'll go ahead and give it a shot. And I would almost argue that this movie feels like what is the fucking point? Like that's the, and you need to understand this. And yes, this will be a spoiler review because there's no way I can talk about this film and not spoil stuff. So if you don't want spoilers, you can move on. But TLDR, the movie's pretty boring and basic as fuck and tries too hard to be different by doing that whole you think you know what happens, you don't know what happens shit like all the goddamn time. And there is no real standout character throughout the whole thing. I would say that. So that's the TLDR version. But for those who want to stay, you can understand why I feel this way and why this movie was kind of fucking worthless in my opinion. Like literally, it's one of those things where episode 9 will come out and people will be like, shit, I need to go back and watch The Last Jedi, and your friend who's already watched it will be like, no, you don't. You only need to know this, 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 and that's it. Like, literally, it's like maybe 3 things from this film that you really need to know, if that, going into the next film. And the next film isn't even fucking out. It's literally that. There's so little that matters in this film that it's almost baffling. And I don't even know all the extra lore shit or how characters were represented from The Force Awakens to here. I don't fucking know. So there's a bunch of shit I'm not even going to touch on because I don't know anything about it. But let's kind of start off with the 3 main plot lines. You have Rey training Luke Skywalker, quote unquote training. I'll get to that in a second. You have Finn and Rose trying to stop, I don't even know what the name of the ship is, but the Sith's ship from tracking them if they were to boost in the light speed. Which, once again, I'll get into in a second. And then the third thing is what's going on in the ship internally with, I don't even remember these characters' names. I would say Princess Leia's group. Like, the actual main part of the resistance that's left that's currently running away from the Empire's ship, right? And I would almost argue that the Finn stuff is incredibly like worthless, particularly because it doesn't literally, if you want to know the amalgamation of all of the Finn stuff in this film, apparently Finn and Rose kind of maybe sort of might have a thing going on. That's like that's literally the entirety of Finn's arc and Rose's arc in this thing. Rose's sister dies at the beginning of the film. You could argue that even though I would still argue that even though it's one of the main subplots of the film, it's not their characters are not like they're not interacting enough, and there wasn't enough sequences with them to make me believe that all of a sudden she kind of has a thing for him. Like it's a little too, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, contrived. That's the best way to look for it. I think that's the best word for it. It's so fucking contrived that by near the end of the movie, oh yeah, I think I'm kind of into you, and then I pass out and I stay unconscious for the rest of the film, so you don't know if I'm dead or not. But I'm gonna assume that I'm fine, but we're just not gonna address it now. Literally, because them trying to find this hacker that can go into the Empire ship and destroy their light speed travel tracker amounts to nothing because it doesn't go anywhere. I don't even want to go into the full-on details because of how fucking dumb it is. Because and you know the reason why is because it all comes back to that theme of you think you know what's going on, but you don't know. And I feel like the movie tries so hard to do that multiple times throughout the film that it makes a lot of sequences pointless. For example, and then to get the Luke Skywalker and Rey stuff is the most pointless shit, and is almost just as pointless. So they're running with the idea that Luke Skywalker is like this beaten down man who fucked up and just thinks that no one should fuck with the Force anymore. And I'm not going down that path. I'm not teaching anyone. Although if you know this kind of archetype, you already know what's going to happen. He'll end up teaching her. And even though shit will still go down, he'll be there to save her. But it's that whole, you think you know what's going to happen, but you don't know. Because, surprise, I hope that anyone in this movie doesn't say that he taught her anything. He taught her like one thing. And I wouldn't even count that as like full on teaching you the ways of the Jedi. It's not like he went through this full on training with her. Literally, he kind of just showed her how to use the Force, kind of, sort of. And then he spent the rest of the time either watching her, fearing her, or telling her how dangerous the Force is. And she's running around like Naruto saying, "We haven't lost Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren can be turned good." And he's like, "This isn't going to end the way you want it to." And of course, we get to that scene towards the end of the film. It's like halfway, it feels like. The film is fucking too long, too. It's especially when you realize, like, the shit with Finn is so irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. It's fucking annoying. You got this whole, Kylo Ren might still be good, and your teacher isn't all who he thinks he is. Although it's not like she idolizes fucking Luke Skywalker. I mean, she thinks highly of him, but she doesn't, even then, it wasn't anything major. And then Luke Skywalker was like, "That's not the truth." And so literally the truth went through these 3 different sequences where the same thing happened. There was just slight more information on it. Like, he used his Force powers and destroyed everything. And that's when I knew I fucked up. And then Kylo Ren says, "He tried to kill me and I was just protecting myself." Doesn't explain why you killed everybody else. But okay. And then the reality is that he thought about it, had a momentary lapse in judgment, changed his mind, but Kylo Ren had woke up when he still had the sword out and misinterpreted what he was doing, and everything still happened the same way. Meaning, it doesn't really fucking matter. They even do this whole little side plot with, like, Rey's parents and shit, and how she's trying to find them, and that she's too willing to go into the dark side and shit. Once again, didn't lead any fucking where. And it's even dumber because towards the climax of the film, at least as far as the Rey and Kylo Ren subplot is concerned, you're just told what they are and it means absolutely nothing. Like, they do the subplot about, you're just looking for approval. You just want somebody to guide you. Spoiler, no one fucking guides her. It's so fucking dumb. A lot of this shit in this film is just fucking stupid. Then they do this whole thing about, now the people on the ship have to buy time because not everybody agrees. Only like a few people know about Finn and Rose's plan. So like they spend the whole ship sequences as, okay, we're gonna run out of fuel eventually. What are we gonna do? And fucking Finn and the guy, I don't even know, I don't remember the guy's name. I don't think I heard it. Or if I heard it, I heard it like once or twice. He's like going through all this extra shit to get her to stop, only for it to amalgamate and, oh yeah, he was fucking wrong. Because you didn't know, because you think you know, but you don't know. And it happens so many times in this film to the point where you just make other things irrelevant. Like the Finn side plot is irrelevant. I would almost argue the entire thing with the guy is irrelevant. Actually, it is irrelevant. Oh, I'm gonna wait until Finn and them gets back. Finn and them do their job, and we can believe in them, and then you'll see that I was right. Spoiler alert, he wasn't fucking right. Because once again, you think you know, but you don't know, and it's like, dude. So all that shit was irrelevant. None of that had any fucking purpose. Now someone's gonna be like a smart and say, but he learned to be a smarter person. Yeah, but he didn't really get any time to shine for it. Well, actually, he got one, and it wasn't really relevant. Same thing with Luke. It's like, oh, Luke, you have to learn to let go and to trust in people again. She can be trusted. You can teach her. Spoiler alert, he doesn't really fucking teach her. Because you think you know. And then they do this random sequence where he's like, I'm burning all the Jedi books. And then he has second thoughts. And then the ghost of Yoda appears and destroys all the books. And goes, you need to learn to let go, Luke. And I'm just kind of like, was the book thing even a fucking side plot to the point where that sequence even made any sense? And then they mentioned the Jedi text, but like literally, there's no... It wasn't like a big enough thing for that sequence with Yoda and Luke to even matter. It's like, you need to learn how to let go, Luke. You know, the one thing you need to teach your students is that failure can be the greatest teacher. And once again, I mean, the funny thing is, I don't think Luke never talks to Rey directly after that sequence. Like, literally, that's what makes the shit stupid. Rey has already left the island because she's like, I have to go back and I have to help my friends, and even if you don't want to come back and help, I can't give up. And so you're thinking, oh, Luke is gonna at some point have some sense of closure with Rey. No, because they never fucking see each other again. After she leaves the island and everything, it's it. It's just fucking over. The Kylo Ren stuff is pretty fucking throwaway, and even that, it's that whole you think you know, but you don't know. Where he turns good, but not really, but you're supposed to think he's turned good, and you get like the only good lightsaber fight in the whole goddamn movie. The whole movie, there's only one good lightsaber fight. Some of you might be thinking I'm talking about the very end of the movie with Luke. No, because it's not a fucking fight. It's also just a really dumb. You know what pisses me off is that it's a clever sequence in concept. And then it kind of just amounts to, like, it's one of those things that I like what they did there, but it doesn't really mean much in the grand scheme of things, especially when you realize that, oh, he's dead, or at least not there anymore, I guess is the best way to describe it. They do this fake out shit with Finn in this near death sequence. The movie's biggest fucking problem throughout all these things I mentioned in the running theme is that it keeps trying to jerk your expectations. It's trying to fuck with you. It's like, you think you know, but you don't know. And that's all the motherfucking film wants to do, is keep doing that. You think you know, but you don't know. And at a certain point in the film, you just sit there and go, I don't fucking care if I don't know anymore. It's actually gotten predictable that you're going to do you think you know, but you don't know. And the sad thing is that towards the end of the film, it's still predictable. Oh, the sensei comes to save the rebellion. Is that really a fucking surprise? Oh, Rey doesn't join the dark side. Is that really a fucking surprise? It's so fucking annoying that the whole film's doing this whole, you think you don't know, you think you know, but you don't know, only for the movie to end in a very predictable manner. Then what the fuck? Why even... Or is that supposed to be the interesting part about it? That through all these little mind tricks and guessing games you're doing, you don't realize it's still playing out exactly as you originally thought. Like, you're playing with my expectations. You're challenging them. You're not. You're literally, it's like circular logic. It's like, I'm already thinking what I'm thinking, but you're going to take me through a whole bunch of fucking hoops to make me think something different, only for me to be inherently right with my original thought at the beginning of the beginning of the fucking journey. It's literally a basic ass film. Like, literally all you need to know is that Kylo Ren currently runs the Empire. The Resistance is still alive and well. Rey and Finn are fine. Finn may or may not have a romantic love interest, and Luke is dead, maybe, sorta. And I guess, Rey's a little bit better with her force powers, I guess, is the other thing. I think that's it. That's it. Because the revelation about her parents means nothing. Oh yeah, your parents came from nothing. Your parents were not important at all. Your parents were fucking worthless. Alright. I also found it kind of weird that you have this whole thing with, like, Finn and Rey constantly worrying about each other, and then literally the only time they interact is at the very end of the film, and all they do is hug. There's not even really dialogue shared between them. And this is right after, like, the sequence in which we just saw Rose kiss Finn, and you're like, so what's the situation with them? It's such a fucking, the whole film is literally just like, it's not like, there are certain aspects that you could argue are clever. I think the ending is probably I think the ending stuff with Luke is probably the most clever that the movie gets. Everything else is just to constantly cheat your expectations, and it doesn't really amalgamate to anything awesome. The Luke sequence at the end of it isn't really a fight. I mean, it's a cool sequence in itself, and it's a cool trick, but, like, that's about it. The Finn shit is worthless. The Rey shit amounts to very little, other than Rey now has her powers, and she will not try to convert Ben or Kylo Ren again. Like, that's, like, those are the two things you take out of this film. She's a little bit better with her force powers, and she will not try to convert Kylo Ren to the light side. Which means if she does it in later films, it's going to be even dumber, considering this whole film, that's like one of the only takeaway points from it. And Kylo Ren wants to destroy all the past and start anew, but then, proceeding after Rey says no to him, proceeds to still take control of the Empire and do whatever the fuck he wants. Alright. And some of you would just say, oh, that's just for his end goal. Fine, but you can't literally say right before that, kill the past, let go of the past, destroy it all. Rey says no. Come here, the Empire is mine now. What? It's so fucking stupid. So fucking stupid. And it's a long ass film. It's like a borderline 3-hour film. And it's literally just filled with a bunch of bullshit. Like, just man, I think the Finn stuff is the absolute worst in the film. Because it amounts, and see, that's because, and from what I've heard, the Luke stuff is the most offensive because of, apparently it's a huge change to his character. Which, once again, I haven't watched the other Star Wars films, so I don't know about all that. But as far as fucking the film on, like, its own merits, it's one of those films that you can watch, and it literally can be a film you never have to watch again. I absolutely mean that. You will never have to watch this film again. I would even argue if they came out with a box set with like 7, 8, 9 in it, you do not need to watch 8. Because 8 feels like a fucking waste of time. That gives you something to look forward to, folks. And this is coming from someone who doesn't give a fuck about Star Wars. And it bored me. I checked my phone to see what time it was. Like, I want to say at least 3 fucking times throughout the whole film. And I remember it was like an hour into it, I was already checking my phone. It's a boring ass film. On top of everything else that's wrong with it. But like I said, the most offensive thing about the film is that stupid ass arrogant fucking mindset of you do think you know, but you don't know. And that's what they should have called this fucking thing. Star Wars, hey, the movie you think you know, but you don't know, but you actually do know. You just don't know that you know it yet. It's fucking stupid. It's not even like mind blowing. It's just fucking stupid. Anywho, I expect there to be many dislikes because A, you haven't watched a lot. You haven't watched enough Star Wars. Get the fuck out of here. Who the fuck do you think you are, sir? Critiquing Star Wars when you've barely seen any of the films. And then 2, it's a great movie even if you don't care for Star Wars. It's a boring fucking movie and it's a throwaway movie if you don't give a damn about Star Wars. Thank you and good night. This has been the Vlogs Game for your boy Terrell. Hope you guys enjoyed. And if you didn't, it's cool because there will be other videos on the way. Peace. Oh.